The protests in Brazil were started basically by a group of left-wing activists called the Free Fair Movement. They don't have an official leader. Each member is able to represent the group and speak freely for the group. They basically took to the streets trying to fight against an increase in transit fares. They blocked off some major highways and received a pretty heavy police response. In return, what happened was there was a lot of scenes of violence that were splashed across the news over here, and the Brazilian population saw that and was relatively disgusted, I think is probably the right word for it, by what they saw and took to the streets in solidarity. What started off as originally a peaceful protests have expanded into violent protests and scenes of looting and crime across Brazil. We've spoken to leaders from the Free Fair movement, which started this entire protest. Their belief is that the protests have gone to a place where they shouldn't have gone, which is now violence. They've decided not to call any more protests in their name, but at this point they feel that it's to some degree out of their hands, that the protest movement continues based on the actions of other groups that have called people into the streets. The interesting thing about these protests is that they don't have a clear goal in mind and they don't have a clear leader that the government can negotiate with. Basically, the grievances of the population run the gamut from corruption to poor public services to crime to poor public transportation. And people are coming out into the streets really as an expression of distaste and frustration with what they see as the difficulty of life in Brazil. For Reuters, I'm Asher Levine in São Paulo.